As we sent out on email, Max, unfortunately is no longer our DM. So that is official as of my email. And we've opened up the search, and we'll open up the search for the new DM position, and we'll work hard to hire someone excellent that will help the board. So that is in progress. I wanted to mention also that we passed in the steering committee a bylaws change. It's a part of the agenda. We will not be discussing it tonight. I am noticing it tonight. We will be discussing it in steering and a full board in the next full board. And I'm not going to read it out, but it's in the agenda item. So noticed. I would like to call up Will Ortiz for 1 minute. Will.
Might be a little over a minute, but we'll see. Okay. Hi, everyone. Wanted to just give you a quick little update on some things that have been happening to me lately. Some important things that have been happening in my life. So obviously, number one, most of you may know I have a beautiful baby boy. He's 1 year old, and he's been such an incredible joy. Yes, woo to babies. Yes. And my wife and I have never been closer since, and we're having such a wonderful time raising him. And additionally, I recently made a career shift where the work-life balance is more to, I think, the 21st century. And I feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel with all that extra work, all those extra hours that I do. With these shift in priorities, and after many heartfelt conversations with my wife, I've come to the difficult decision to step down and resign from Manhattan Community Board 7, effective at the end of the speech. Yeah, I realize that this may come a bit of a surprise, and I truly apologize for the suddenness of this announcement. This decision came together faster than I expected, but it comes from a place of deep reflection and gratitude. First, I want to thank our current chair, Alex Bell, for being so gracious, giving me the time to speak right now. I also want to thank all previous chairs I've ever worked with, Beverly, Stephen Brown, Mark Diller, and Roberta. Through your leadership, I've learned so much about patience, process, and perseverance, and I'm deeply grateful for the chance to work alongside each of you. To my former co-chairs, Polly Spain and Shelley Fine, two amazing friends and even better human beings. Thank you for your partnership, your kindness, and your commitment to the neighborhood we all love. And to the familiar faces I had a privilege to work closely with, Kevin, Andrew Albert, Andrew Ridgie, Elizabeth, Ethel, Audrey, Jamie, Josh, Doug, everyone. I can't name you all. I could try, but I'll be here all night. I want to thank you for all these past 6 years. It's been filled with lessons, laughter, and shared decisions that can't be matched. Serving the community has been one of the greatest honors of my life. It showed me what real civic engagement looks like. Neighborhoods come together to make better things. And not because we have to do it, but because we care. We all care. We're all here because we care to some degree. And my one ask as I step away is to really open your hearts and open your minds to people with just completely different opinions or decisions. I do believe most people don't mean to be malicious. They just are different. That is, I could be naive. So with that, I must bid you adieu, but not goodbye. The Upper West Side will always be my home. And thank you for letting me be a small part of something big and meaningful. Thank you all.
Thank you, William. I want to announce the following people who have waivers to attend remotely: Sarah Lee Evans for unexpected work, Nandita for unexpected travel, Miranda for unexpected travel, Hayden for unexpected childcare duties. I would like to invite the board staff up if they're ready. And also Beverly, if you could please come up. Thank you. And then on deck, Jamie, if you can get ready.
Hi, Beverly. Well, we would like to present this to Beverly Donahue as a thank you for her 3 years of service at CB7's board chair. I've worked hand in hand with Beverly and saw the countless hours and tireless effort she put into this role. Beverly would frequently put in nearly as many hours as full-time staff members and would always be available for a call, meeting, or help. Frequently, she would take our calls late into the night and even during the weekends, which underscored her commitment to CB7 and to the Upper West Side community. In her role, Beverly often sidestepped credit instead of focusing only on optimizing the outcome on behalf of CB7. I want to take this moment not just to thank you, but to make sure everyone here today and those who will watch later know just how artistly you worked on behalf of all of us, staff, board members, and community. It is equally important to know that Beverly undertook the chair's position during a very pivotal and transitional time for the board. Many of you have joined us well after that, so please know that Beverly kept things afloat after 2 district managers left or were let go. In addition, the board and the city was still emerging from effects of COVID, and Beverly significantly experienced working in very senior capacity for the city early in her career was immeasurably beneficial to us during this period. With a long agenda ahead, I'll end here. Thank you again, Beverly, and I hope you enjoy some well-deserved time to yourself.
Would you like to say anything or no? Okay. All right, Jamie Fold, please return. Jamie, would you like to join us quickly? Jamie will give a brief report now on the Public Safety Working Group.
Very brief because I wasn't expecting to be called up this quickly. Hello, everyone. How are you? As you may know, hello, can you hear me? Thank you, audio experts. I and a group of people who are in this room, please raise your hands. Public Safety Working Group. I know there's more than just Dan. Okay, maybe not in this room. Thank you, Doug, and some others, about 10 of us, actually, Ethel, and a number of others came together in the early fall. Actually, the Public Safety Working Group was asked to do the work in the spring to make a recommendation to the new chair about whether it would be wise to reconstitute some sort of public safety task force or committee. And we've made a recommendation. I need not belabor it here because it's been sent around to all of you together with a memo outlining the mission of our working group, which would be different than the recommended task force. So please take a look at it. I've had some back and forth communications with some of you, which I greatly appreciate. And we are all available to you. I don't think my colleagues would mind my saying that, to discuss the nature of the conversations we've had in the working group. And we look forward to continued conversations with the chair after he's had an opportunity to review the recommendations and to discuss them with executive committee and perhaps steering if necessary. So thank you all for trusting us with this work. And for those of you who joined the working group and leaned into the very hard issues of public safety and criminal justice. And thank you to our new chair and to our outgoing chair, Beverly, for trusting us as well.
Great, thank you. Approval of the minutes from the previous full board. Can I have a motion? Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And then can we have an adoption of the current agenda? Seconded. Okay. Great. Nandita, are you online and can you hear us and can we hear you?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you guys hear us? Or hear me?
Yes, go for it. You have 1 minute. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Just 3 things I wanted to discuss. The first is technology office hours have been scheduled for November. I'll work with Jesse to add them to the calendar, but for now it's going to be November 16th. This is Sunday from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. And you can join remotely or from the CB7 office. The topic is going to be on running Zoom meetings remotely to get people more familiar with that process. The second announcement is you probably got 2 emails this evening. The first email is a summary of the meeting minutes from last month that Alex and I sent across using ChatGPT. We welcome all feedback on that and also feedback on ways to summarize documents that don't just involve checking a GPT and having you read the summary. I think having maybe questions or quizzes would also be an interesting way to incorporate using AI tools. The second is I have a quick 5-question survey I sent around earlier tonight. I appreciate the 16 people who have already responded. It means so much to me. If you guys don't mind responding before the tech office hours on the 16th, that would be great. It's 5 questions. 2 of them is what is your name and what is your email, and it shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes. I did see one question on there on what is a use case of, by the words use case, I just mean what's an example that you would use something or use a tool. That's all I wanted to say, just those 3 things. I really appreciate everyone's quick responses with that. Thank you all.
Very much, Nandita. We're going to open up the community session now. I'm happy to report that due to time, a lot of the elected officials have provided written statements, which I've emailed to everyone. And for those who would like to speak now, yes, please come up or raise your hand for the public session. We have 2 minutes. All right, meet you at the podium. Sue, please, first.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay. Oh, can you hear me? Oh, good. Don't let the Federal Communications Commission take away your authority. Preserve local control. The FCC's docket number 25-276 proposes to rule to, quote, free towers and other wireless infrastructures from regulatory burdens imposed at the state and local level, end quote. In other words, preempt local zoning laws that restrict the ability of telecoms to put their antennas and towers wherever they want. This is my note. This is going to get rid of our protections under the National Environmental Protection Act and the National Historic Preservation Act. We can forget about protecting our historic districts in New York City. We will need thousands of local, municipal, and school officials from all over the country to voice their outrage to this blatant power grab. There's a new website that the Americans for Responsible Tech have proposed, and you can go to it to find more information. www.25-276.org. Now the telecoms and the FCC want to strip away the control that Congress gave exclusively to local officials. Here is the intro to this docket from the FCC. Quote, this notice answers President Trump's call across the federal government to expedite, eliminate, and simplify permitting burdens that inhibit economic development, job creation, and energy production. This proceeding also builds on the Commission's successful efforts during President Trump's first term to streamline infrastructure rules, which helped spur significant investment and network buildup on our backs. Thank you.
The rest of, if you're here to speak on a specific item, let's wait till that specific item is in the session. This is for the generic community session. Others who would like to speak? Yes, please come.
Hello, my name is Juan Blanco. I am an architect. I'm an architect, a preservationist, and an urbanist. And I want to speak to a suggestion that will save many historic structures that are threatened throughout New York City. I'm not a resident of this part of New York, but I am a resident of New York. And I see the building that's on, the church that's on Amsterdam Avenue, 86th Street, as the poster child of the threat to the historic structures of New York. And I would like to make a suggestion, a simple suggestion that may be able to save all of them. That is to change the air rights legislation, which currently limit the ability to sell the air rights once, to make it possible to sell them every 5 years, thus creating a revenue stream for the preservation of these buildings that are always doomed to destruction because they have imperfections. They need a repair to the roof, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And make the sale of those air rights something that can be distributed throughout New York City to other sites, specifically peripheral sites, which are threatened by sea level rise, to enable those sites that receive those air rights. This would entail the creation of an air rights bank, which would provide these different buildings with funding every 5 years. And that would create a revenue stream that would protect those buildings and enable them to be repaired so that they will not be targets of destruction by the jackals of real estate. That's what I have to say.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Claire Botnick from Assembly Member Micah Lasher's office. I know we have a packed agenda, so I'll keep it very brief. First, on behalf of the Assembly Member, I'd just like to honor Beverly for her years of service. Thank you so much for everything you've done on behalf of Community Ward 7 and our community, and to welcome Alex into his new role. Congratulations. The only thing I want to highlight tonight is that the Assembly Member's office is open and here to serve you or people that you know that have been impacted by the ongoing government shutdown. We've been receiving a lot of calls about access to benefits, confusion, concern, as I'm sure you can imagine. We're here to assist. Please come see us on 104th Street between West End and Broadway. Email the office at lasherm@assemblyny.gov. Or give us a call, especially for those folks that are experiencing confusion about access to SNAP benefits. We have compiled resources and we are here to serve folks that need access to food immediately. So please reach out and direct folks that have questions to our office. We're here to help you. Thank you.
Great. Let's go to Zoom. Suiba.
Yes, thank you. This is Sawaiba from Manhattan Borough President's Office. Sorry, I'll be off camera because I'm having some technical difficulties. So thank you to all the community board members that participated in the leadership training series. We were happy to provide training on items like using topography and open data as a tool for boards and learning how to navigate the DOB and HBD portals to understand building information. So in case you missed your training, and you've emailed me, I will let you know when exactly the YouTube recordings for the trainings are up. But even if you haven't emailed me, I will send a full email regarding the uploaded trainings for you to make up. You just need to rewatch. You need to watch them and confirm with me that you have done so, and you'll be done. You'll be noted as completed. Regarding the federal shutdown, as we all know, we are still in a federal shutdown. This means that federal employees continue to work without a pay, while SNAP benefits, which provide food assistance to hundreds of thousands of households here in New York City, are still being withheld. If you or someone you know is looking for food assistance, please visit the Food Bank of New York's Food Map Finder to find the nearest location for support. You can also reach out to me to help you navigate this space. For federal workers, our office has partnered with the Hebrew Free Loan Society to provide no-cost, interest-free loans up to $7,500 for low and moderate income federal workers. Please reach out to us directly to learn more and apply. Lastly, as we all know, we are still in a the borough president recently provided testimony at an important hearing on right to counsel, which BP Levine was proud to introduce and successfully pass into law in his time in city council, making New York City the first municipality in the nation to provide a lawyer to households facing eviction and housing court. Sorry, I'm just getting a work call. The hearing provided BP Levine a platform to provide recommendations on how to increase the percentage of cases receiving representation. So much, and once again, congratulations to Alex, and congratulations also to Beverly on completing her ship. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. We're going to go now to roll call. Roll call voting is open. All community members, please text our usual voting number, yes, for roll call. And some have let me know that there is a lot of good reception here. So the staff is ready to help. If you raise your hand, get you on Wi-Fi for those who need it. And if that won't work, please raise your hand and I will do it manually. Again, this is only for the community members. So yes. Only for board members, sorry, board members. Good call out, Doug. But yes, voting is open. Yes, are you here? Vote yes for here. Ethel, I got you. Okay, we've got 30 votes in so far. I'll get you. I'll do manual for you. We're at 35. I think if you haven't voted yet, just raise your hand. I'll manually note it. Okay, perfect. Perfect. All right, let's move along. The next item in our agenda is transportation. Would the transportation co-chairs please come here?
All right, everyone. So the Transportation Committee had 3 resolutions this month. 2 were carryovers from the previous month. All right. Okay, everyone. 3 resolutions. 2 were carryovers from last month. As you know, our meeting got held over from September. The first was dealing with prioritizing safety at the curb. As everyone in this room knows, curb space is very valuable. We had a very constructive discussion about appropriate uses of curb space in our neighborhood. Came to a unanimous resolution about it that Community Board 7 calls on DOT to prioritize safety. So pretty straightforward, and happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, we can vote. Call the question. Is there a second? Okay. Okay, so
Great. Voting
just
is now
voting.
open on the transportation first item. And if you're having trouble voting, give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. We can start with that. Two more minutes. Voting? Yes. Howard, yes. All right. The motion carries 35-100.
The next resolution is also a carryover resolution from the last full board meeting. And this one has to do with dynamic parking at the curb. So another resolution related to the curb. And it's very involved. So we know that you've had an opportunity to read it twice since it was carried over from last time. The real issue here had to do with the noticing of the Department of Transportation's decision to study dynamic pricing at the curb during the summertime. And we have written a resolution, as you can see here, and passed it in committee, encouraging the Department of Transportation to resume that study with proper notice to our community board and, more importantly, to our community. There is a friendly amendment to what you've seen in your advance notice materials, and Carrie is here to come forward and explain what that's about. It's rather minor, but we want to properly notify you about it.
Thank you, Jamie and Elizabeth. The friendly amendment is from Beverly, and it simply calls upon DOT to provide summary data with the results of the pilot, which we think is appropriate so we can adequately assess it. The friendly amendment is from Beverly, and it simply calls upon DOT to provide summary data so we can adequately evaluate the pilot. Otherwise, the resolution is as it was from the prior month. Happy to answer any questions or have the question called.
And I will mention that the resolution passed in committee, thanks to my co-chair for reminding me to give you the vote. Thank you. Thank you so much, Roberta. 7120 in committee. And Carrie put a lot of time and background research into this resolution, which is why he joins us here at the podium. Yes. Thank you, Alex.
I'm in favor of this resolution, but I had an objection to the very last be it resolved. I'd like to see it removed. I don't think it's appropriate to direct our staff one way or the other. It doesn't belong in this resolution. Would you consider taking it out?
Thank you for raising that. It has been discussed. Let me hand this to Carrie, as it's also been raised with him.
So struck.
Mindful of the timekeeper in our midst. How do you feel about that? Good? Excellent. All right, Jay, a member of our committee.
You need the microphone, right?
I said, unfortunately, I could not be at the committee meeting because I was out of the country. I just have, well, I have a lot of questions, but I'm not going to ask them. But I have one that I found interesting, and that was in the findings about commuters who use a car, truck, or van have median earnings exceeding $205,000, the most of any category, and double the median average earnings of community. Can you tell me, Carrie, what the relevance of that is?
Well, we put the citation there for anybody who wants to consider it. We put the citation there if anybody would like to consider it. It's a question about charging for parking, and so that was the relevance.
Yeah, I with respect, I don't see how that's relevant, how much car owners earn. It seems to me that it's an indirect implication that it's okay to charge people for parking because they make a lot of money.
Well, there is, I think, a relevant consideration about those who would be impacted by the dynamic parking study. I emphasize it's just a study. Kerry has something else he wants to say.
It's also just one of the facts that were considered, and the prefacing clause says the following facts were considered. So that's all.
My understanding is dynamic pricing would apply to anybody regardless of their income. So it would affect low earners, middle earners, high earners. There wouldn't be any deviation based on income.
That would depend on what the study finds. Remember, DOT could make exceptions after a study. Let me remind you, this is for a study of a small portion of our district. And the resolution really focuses on DOT's failure to properly notice. And let's be really clear, if you read it carefully, DOT did notice us. Initially, there was a lot of talk about this upcoming study. It was just in the final analysis right before the study went into effect. The community board was not given a letter or immediate notice or flyers, all of that. So this is more about that rather than the study itself. But this is for a study. We're not approving the actual dynamic parking system, though we would, in our committee, some of us who voted for it, encourage it. So that's all. But Jay, you're going to vote against it, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
And I urged people to also vote against it because I think there are a lot of questionable assumptions in the basis, not for the study, but for supporting the way it's supporting the study.
Yes, we'll let everybody speak, and there would be presumably an opportunity to vote on dynamic parking itself should the study ever suggest to DOT that dynamic parking should be implemented. Then that would come back around to the community board. Are there other questions? Anybody want to call? Oh, please go ahead, Ethel.
I'm not talking about this. Now that we have something on the screen, I hope the technical people can make that that they have put on the screen visible in some fashion to anyone. I would appreciate that, and I'm sure the group would.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Call the question.
Okay, the question is now open. You can text to vote or raise your hand. Thumbs up, thumbs down if you're having issues. Nice. Any others who would like to vote manually? Okay. Okay. And that's a yes, Carrie? Okay. The vote passes 30 to 9 to 2 to 0.
Great.
Yep.
Okay, so our third item is a new item for this month related to the Trader Joe's on West 92nd and 93rd and Columbus. We have at least one speaker here tonight to speak about this, but the resolution itself was pertaining to a loading zone. I'm not sure, is the applicant from Polar Engineering or anyone from Trader Joe's here tonight? Okay, that is a no. They were at our committee meeting. We heard from them. They delivered a presentation and the request for a loading zone, because for a variety of reasons, we had very few people from the community in the room for discussion. We voted in support of the loading zone by a vote of 8 to 1 to 2 to 0. Subsequent to that meeting, which was in mid-October, we have had several voices from the community who have come to express their concern about both the loading zone, where it is, why it's there, its hours of operation, what it's doing, and so forth. I'd like to call up a couple of them who I know have submitted for a request to speak. I will start with Irena Stennett, who also has some slides. Again, the vote that was taken was passed at the time, and we're going to hear from a couple members of the community and then hear from all of you and then take a vote. Irena. And I should say also, Irena is a former member of CV7 and former district manager.
Thank you thank you very much, Elizabeth. Hi, Richard. Hi, everyone. Beverly, you were serving as chair when I was in the board. I wish you all the best, and I thank you for your service. My name is Irena Stennett, and I've been living on the Upper West Side for many, many years, probably now 3 or 4 decades. I want to preface my remarks by saying that outreach on this item did not reach many members of the immediate community at West 93rd Street between Amsterdam and Central Park West, and West 92nd Street and West 94th Street and Columbus Avenue, who were directly impacted by Trader Joe's located at West 93rd Street and Columbus Avenue. I hope Community Board 7 will consider additional methods to notify community members of important items before the board beyond the newsletter and website. Regarding Trader Joe's application for a loading dock at Columbus Avenue between West 93rd and West 92nd, I ask that this item be returned to committee to allow for greater outreach to the buildings above and adjacent to Trader Joe's, and to give members of the board unfamiliar with this location the opportunity to witness how Trader Joe's currently operates in the area. I understand the need for supermarkets and other large stores to have loading docks as a matter of course. However, the quality of life and safety issues confronting the West 92nd to West 94th Street community east of Amsterdam Avenue will not be mitigated by merely adding a loading dock. Simply put, Trader Joe's has outgrown its location. Essentially, they are a victim of their own success, resulting in the street and sidewalk operating as their warehouse, where merchandise, mechanical equipment, garbage, and other supplies are regularly stored at all hours of the day, limiting public access to this thoroughfare. Further, Trader Joe's location at the corner of West 93rd and Columbus Avenue is a heavily used intersection at the nexus of 6 middle schools and primary schools, who must navigate moving and staged equipment, large tractor trailers, smaller trucks, and merchandise in the street and sidewalk. We have been incredibly fortunate that no one has been injured. If you look at the photos, you will see how small the Trader Joe's storage space is in relationship to their scale of the deliveries they receive at all hours of the day, which necessitates the use of the sidewalk and street to store boxes of merchandise and equipment, often stored overnight. I asked Community Board 7 to table this item until next month. Further, that Trader Joe's seriously consider relocating or expanding their business to the vacant Party City site on the corner of West 92nd Street and Columbus Avenue, and use that site as their warehouse and move the said loading dock there, just south of Just Salad, to move all of their logistics, I'm almost finished, Alex, I'm sorry, and delivery operations indoors rather than in the public thoroughfare. Additionally, Trader Joe's delivery hours should not begin before 6 a.m., 7 a.m. to eliminate noise during early hours, sometimes as early as 4 a.m., particularly the caution beeping noise that occurs when delivery trucks are backing in. Finally, it has come to my attention that Trader Joe's is currently being sued in part because of how they currently operate at this corner. I asked the board to get clarification on the lawsuit from all parties before approving this application. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the community in person or online who would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, we're going to open it up to the committee or to the full board in just a moment. Just want to reiterate that the information that Irena has given us has all come in subsequent to our committee meeting, which again was in mid-October. So that's a factor to consider. Richard.
Thank you. The problem with Trader Joe's, I think
Hold up like this.
Irena may have understated the problem. Right now, there is a de facto loading zone 24 hours where they store merchandise. When deliveries are made, there are 2 loading zones, one of which is in a traffic lane on Columbus Avenue and makes passage very difficult. There may be solutions other than a dedicated loading zone, and there may be conditions that should be applied to the dedicated loading zone that would ameliorate the condition. I think the matter really does deserve further study, and therefore I would move that it be returned to committee.
So I really appreciate Irena's comments, and she was a very valued member of this board. The only thing that I am troubled with is that I believe that the granting of a loading zone would mitigate some of the problems. So even if they have been bad actors, I think that this loading zone will be helpful. The other thing I just wanted to mention is that this building was formerly a Mitchell-Lama Co-op, and it was within the Upper West Side Urban Renewal Plan. When that plan expired, they were allowed to bulk up to build the area where Party City was and now Just Salad. And actually, there is a restriction to have these tenants to be combined. They had to break it into 3 tenants. My understanding was that Trader Joe's actually wanted a lot more space, but they were not legally allowed to have it. So I just submit that I think that a lot should be, reviewed in the future, but I think that a loading zone in and of itself will actually help to ameliorate some of the problems. That's all.
Okay, I think there's a motion on the table in a second, right? So, okay, Ken and Miranda. Sorry.
Yeah, I live right around the corner. So I pass by it all the time, and it's chaos on the street on Columbus Avenue. Because the trucks have to double park on Columbus Avenue, narrowing it down to 1 or 2 lanes. This resolution, this proposal is only addresses the streetscape, and it doesn't address the sidewalk or noise or whether Trader Joe's is a good neighbor. Those are all separate issues. This is just trying to address what has been a very dangerous and difficult situation on the street. And it makes all the sense in the world to allow their tractor trailers to pull to the curb. Right now, they can't do that. And that's all we're asking for. That's all they're asking for.
Hi, I'll say that I rented apartment 4B in the building where the Trader Joe's exists for 4 years, and it's overlooking the Trader Joe's street. So I very much was living with it, and it was never a problem for me. I never noticed the noise. It was always very manageable, and I always felt was at appropriate hours for loading. I currently don't live there anymore, but I still use that Trader Joe's. It's frankly the only affordable grocery store in the neighborhood. And it's very important to me as a place where I can find affordable groceries. And so I would say that I'm very much in favor of giving them a loading zone, helping them to organize their space, and helping to organize the street such that they continue to operate and stay in our neighborhood, because the next closest Trader Joe's, which is much larger, is very far away from my house. So I'm very much in favor of helping to organize the street and create an order with which they can do loading that frankly is already happening. They already do load on the street, as we all see. So I'm very much in favor of that. And I will say there's no loading dock in the building. I don't know why it was designed that way, but there's no space where you could formally do loading in the building, and it could not be redesigned to have loading. So as such, it needs to go on the street. Let's create more organization on the street so it can be done safely and properly.
Thanks. Just quickly. But this goes to whether to table or not. Yeah, this goes, there's an irony here. The irony is, to the extent they're causing a problem, this will help mitigate it. Whether it mitigates it or not is an issue, but having this loading zone will help mitigate the problem. So I find that kind of an irony, and I'm against tabling it. I think we should try to resolve this situation as soon as possible.
Okay, so a motion's been put on the table to table this until our next transportation meeting, which incidentally is this coming Monday, November 10th. That has been seconded, so that is what we will be voting on now, correct?
One additional comment. Another basis for tabling it is that apparently there have been residents who have come up since the committee meeting that you are unaware of and that have not had a chance to weigh in.
Right, we understand that. And that's a whole other question about notice and all that kind of stuff that you can discuss at another time. We have a motion on the table. It's been seconded. A motion in support is to vote to table this to our transportation meeting this coming Monday. All those in favor can vote online.
Yep, voting is open. So voting yes is you want to table this. Voting no is you want this to be discussed tonight. Yeah. So you're voting no or yes? Okay. Winning now? Okay. Okay. Okay, I want to make sure we get this right because it's quite close, as you can see. Okay. I got you too. Yep.
Did you get SEMA?
Yep. Yep. And
Louisa?
Shelley? Louise is a yes? Okay. Okay, I believe that the final tally is 24 yes. 19 no. 1 abstention. So I believe the motion carries to table, and we'll be discussing this in the next transportation meeting.
Yes, so we'll see you all Monday night for that discussion. Thanks.
Great.
Which
Thank
is
you very
not-
much,
Which is not our
transportation.
regular night.
Yes.
Not our regular.
Not our
night.
regular night. Make sure to check the calendar. I would like to call up BCI.
Hi, Michelle Parker. Come over here, Natasha Cosme, don't be. We met on the 8th of October as a committee, heard 8 applications, discussed the 8 applications, but could not vote on them because we did not have a quorum. So we met again, and we did have a quorum this evening before this meeting. We have 9 applications, but we have, I broke them, I put them in batches. The first 5 are applications for a temporary retail permit requests for the following, and every application we approved by a vote of 9 to 0 to 0 to 0, and non-committee members 2 to 0 to 0 to 0. So the first 5 are 15 West End, Morton Williams, 1900 Broadway, a Daniel Balud venue, 206 West 79, the site of the former Coppola's, 201 West 83rd, the site of the former Cafe Lalo, and 999 Columbus. This is Homemade Taqueria Corp. Do you want me to tell you what they're asking for? They're asking for liquor licenses. And so we want you to approve these applications. Any questions? Okay. That's on the first batch. Well, I have 1 through 5, so it's 1,
Okay.
A, B, C, D, E. I'm sorry, what'd you say? Yeah, I batched them. Yeah,
Yep.
this is batch 1.
Voting is now open for BCI batch 1.
I gave you the old places because you're more familiar with the old venues than the new ones, I think.
Okay, voting is open. Also, try to get on the Wi-Fi. Make it easier for people. But I know it's tricky. Oh, now it went. Great, great. Okay. We currently have 33 votes in. We'll wait a few more seconds. Okay, I'll give you Shelley. All right, the vote carries 36,000.
Thank you. Thank you. Next batch is for 2 movie theaters, actually. One on 67, 68, the American movie AMC. And the other is for 2310 Broadway at West 83rd. They currently have a license to serve wine and beer, and they want to add canned cocktail service. Not like bartender service, but alcohol in a can. Yes, Ethel. Yeah.
Is the same request being made for each of them, that each one of these 2 want to serve wine, beer, beverages as part of their complete operation, and at what hours? Are they both asking for the same thing?
They currently both serve wine and beer. They want to add canned cocktails to the hours that the movie theaters are open. I know it maybe doesn't sound palatable to you, but
and it doesn't, but
Okay,
it's-
I'm sure that the committee has done its work.
It
But I
has.
would certainly be very curious, since certainly the one on Broadway is going to be a new theater, new construction. I would be very curious, well, part of it will be, and I would be very interested that the new construction is compatible with serving the liquor and so on, and that it's all going to work in an efficient and healthy and economically viable way.
These are, both theaters are on Broadway, number one. Number two, yeah, and they're both existing theaters. Oh, okay. So there's going to be, as far as there's going to be no new construction. Okay. You understand now, Ethel? Did I understand what you were asking?
I have a point of information. The resolution, as I read it, doesn't refer to cocktails. It just refers to wine, beer, and cider. Should we amend the resolution to include cocktails? Since that's
Yeah,
what
I
they're
don't
asking for?
know how that was missed. I mean, just have what are we gonna? Yeah,
Canned
this-
cocktails.
Yeah.
Friendly amendment accepted?
Accepted.
Okay, I'm adding canned cocktails.
Canned, in a can.
Okay.
To each one, so.
Oh,
I
Okay.
didn't hear what you said.
okay.
All right, we're going to bring this to a vote. Can we start the vote? Okay, voting is open.
You're doing the last one. You are doing that motion. We have a question. Louisa.
Louise, we have your
Hi,
vote.
Seema.
Okay, we're going to stop voting in 10 seconds. Anyone else having? Okay, what is your vote? It's another vote for yes. Same for yes. Shelley, yes. Any other issues? 3, 2, 1. Vote carries. It's 36-300. If everyone can please keep the chatter down so we can keep the meeting orderly. Thank you.
Okay, the third batch involves one application for a temporary retail permit and class change. This is at 891 Amsterdam Avenue that you all know as the American Youth Hostels, Inc. And the application is for a full on-premises wine, beer, cider, and alcohol license. This is only for registered guests. So unless you're registered there, you can't just walk in and get some canned alcohol. We voted yes on this for 90002000.
Question's been called. Voting is open.
Question? Oh, you're the yes, yeah.
For anyone that is having issues, we'll ask for a manual count shortly. We're just going to give people a second to vote electronically, then we'll take manuals. Okay, anyone who has not been able to vote electronically that is in support of this, please raise your hand. Anyone who has not been able to vote, who is not in support of this, please raise your hand. Voting no.
Hi, Peter.
7. Okay. Any abstain or ineligible for cause? Final vote is 42000.
Thank you. I pass the torch to you, Natasha. We just started working together.
Our next item, our last item from our committee is something that is not on the agenda tonight. It was added in our special committee meeting, our special committee meeting was held tonight at 5:30. As all of you know by now that we couldn't get quorum at the last meeting in October earlier. So we met tonight where we approved everything that you guys just voted on. But we had an applicant who came over with a very unique request. This is the applicant's address is 2672 Broadway. And the name of the restaurant is Telio. And the applicant had actually filed for a temporary permit, liquor permit back in July. There was a mistake. There was a mistake in the address that was put on the document. For some reason, the applicant did not come back to us in either September or October. So precious time was lost. Instead, they approached us on election day, which was a day off for our office. Our office staff was kind enough to accommodate them. But because our meeting was today, no adequate notice was provided for this item. So what they're asking for is basically to approve a temporary liquor license for 2672 Broadway, Telio, with the condition that the applicant appear at the BCI committee meeting on the 12th of November and the full board meeting in December of 2025. This was a controversial thing to vote on, not because the applicant or the restaurant is not great. I'm sure the restaurant is great. The applicant has integrity. But the main point of contention was the lack of proper notice provided to the community. As you know, according to our bylaws, we need 72 hours notice to be provided. For many of you who are unfamiliar, maybe new to the board, this may seem just purely procedural. It might come across as anti-business, but actually we've already discussed two different resolutions where notice and the adequacy of notice was like a key point. One in transportation, actually both of them in transportation. So this is really important, and it's a principled stand that I took. I voted against it. 7 people voted in favor. 2 of us, the co-chairs, we voted against this because this could potentially open up a floodgate of applications which are perfectly fine on their own merit. But we have a very small staff. We have just a 2-member staff. And these applications, they're complicated. There's a lot of coordination that has to happen with the agencies, with the co-chairs, with the applicants before these resolutions are presented to you, even in committee. So as a principled stand, Michelle and I decided to vote against it. And I don't know if Michelle wants to say something more about it.
Perfectly. So the vote was 7-2-0-0 and non-committee 1-0-1-0 for non-committee.
And I was hoping that maybe, okay, yeah.
Is there, excuse me, is there any practical reason why a delay would be a problem?
So I guess they would not be able to serve any alcohol on their premises, and they feel that with the holiday season coming up, it could cause them a lot of loss. But I
So
guess they could open the restaurant and
They're,
not
they're
serve
otherwise
alcohol.
functional.
Is the restaurant functioning right now? Is it open right now?
Okay.
No, it is not.
Do you?
No, we're not
oh,
hearing
yeah.
from the applicant right now.
Let's.
There were a lot of issues that created this snap. Oh, okay, sorry. There were a lot of things that created this snafu tonight for Jeremy Wilatis, who was the owner of at least half a dozen restaurants that we all know and love, like Harvest Kitchen, Good Enough to Eat, Fred's, etc. And one of them was that he submitted this to the board office in July for an application for his liquor license, of which he has many for every restaurant that he owns, obviously, but because the board is short-staffed, and I want to say that Jeremy went out of his way to say that Jesse was incredible to him, but his lawyer made a mistake. There were two addresses given. There was one for his real restaurant, and then there was one for some spurious address, and that has delayed the whole thing again. So Jeremy said that it would be a real financial hardship, because if he has to come before BCI again, the full board will not be able to take this up until January, or he's already
Till
paying
December,
his staff.
actually, not January. The full board will listen to it in December.
Okay, but he's already paying his staff, and he's already, paying his rent. So most of us were in favor on the committee. In fact, everybody except the chairs, I believe, because we felt that he should be given an opportunity to, this should be an exception.
I do have to say that this was a very high pressure sort of vote where we had to, it was 6:15 and we had to be here at 6:30, the entire committee. And we've been on this since yesterday, and it was actually an official holiday, but Jesse was working yesterday to try to get everyone up to speed on this issue.
There are always exceptions due to circumstances. We have a restaurateur who's been in business on the Upper West Side for over 30 years, has contributed greatly to the community, has, when there's been a situation where people needed food, he's provided food and services. This is not a new restaurant. This is someone who has been operating, has been very good to other restaurant owners who've had problems. He has a track record that is amazing. And I think this is one of these very important times when we need to have an exception to the rule.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Clarification, I have some questions.
But the applicant will not be speaking right now. I don't.
No,
they can't.
I'm asking the committee chairs. I'm not asking, I don't even know. Anywho, the timeline of the application, could that be provided? You said that they submitted in July. And so if the submission was in July, did we drop the ball? That's a question. I'm gonna ask all my questions, then I'm gonna give the microphone away. The second question that I have is, what are the rules around the exceptions? Because Roberta just talked about there are exceptions. What are those rules so that we can clearly navigate the voting process utilizing that scope and that lens? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so to answer question 2 first, I don't know, I can't refer to a rule that said there's exceptions to the rule. Yeah, yeah. And number 1, I'm not going to say who dropped the ball. The applicant. I'm going to say no.
So the answer to your question is no, we did not. The board did not drop the ball. We take July and August off. The application was submitted by the applicant and their lawyer. They could have come back to us in September and October when we met. No. They submitted to the office.
So I want to say a very big thank you to I want to thank you, Roberta. You wouldn't believe that this is what I do for a living. So I want to say a very big thank you to our staff, and I don't see them. We're so short-staffed, I don't see them. But Jesse, is that Alex over there? Jesse and Alex, thank you so much. And this little one. So a big thank you, and we are so short-staffed. And also I want to thank the two co-chairs for voting on principle, because that's very important. And we have talked about notice here a lot tonight. And I am a lawyer, and so rules, I'm very rule stickler-ish. If you show up at a court and one letter is off or your font is off, they reject. I'm not kidding. They reject you if your font is off, right? How many lawyers are in the room, right? Am I right? However, I have a big butt. Jay knows I'm right. I think that we are at a time when small business is really struggling in our district. And I've been persuaded by Roberta and Barbara and others who've spoken that we sometimes get too caught up. And again, co-chair to co-chair, I'm with you 100% on the rules. But I see the empty storefronts and it breaks my heart. And when we have and I'm like you, I don't know him, but I want to say that in this case, I think maybe we need to make an exception. And so I'm going to vote for the exception, even though it's not in the rules. I think to support small business, maybe we have to lead with our heart, perhaps in this case, and with our common sense, rather than with the rules, which is what I usually do.
If we could just keep the comments in order, please. We're going to go to Shelley, has not spoken yet, and then Jay, if you have something new to add.
Thank you. I understand the principle involved, but here is a proprietor who has a record in the community, multiple sites, and has been reliable, has been responsible and everything. And it's a shame we don't meet in July and things can get messed up. I think this is an opportunity to make an exception.
I just want to
question
add one more fact.
And then the question's been called.
Yeah, a waiver was given to this restaurant to operate.
The question's been called. Is it seconded?
Since this application is before the board, I'm just curious as to why the applicant, I'm curious as to why the applicant is being denied an opportunity to speak.
The applicant.
It's generally out of order.
Two applicants actually spoke during the committee meeting, which was held at 5:30. I know, but we don't really listen.
The question's been called.
It's up to the committee chairs to decide. The question's been called. I think this comment was good. Let's open the voting.
Can you please clarify what the votes, what specific votes?
You're voting for a temporary license contingent upon appearance at both the committee next week and who said that? Roberta? Okay. You're voting on a temporary liquor license, and it's contingent upon the applicant coming to the BCI committee meeting next week and the full board in December.
And a yes
For a
vote,
vote-
a yes vote is in support of the temporary license
Yes.
pending the next step.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. The voting is now open. A reminder, anyone with tech issues, we will get your votes after if you are not already communicating them to Alex. Just 1 minute. We're just going to try electronically, and then we're going to give manual votes. Okay. And you've got anyone that has a manual vote that has not been recorded yet. Shelley, we have. Okay, we see all the manual votes so far. Audrey, can you share your manual vote with, are you yes or no, or you're a yes? We have you guys. Yeah, you guys. Oh, I assumed that you had communicated that to Alex. Both yes. Okay, we're going to stop the voting in a few seconds unless your vote has not been recorded. Louisa, yes. What is your vote? Okay. Okay, we're going to stop the vote. You're plus 10, right? Plus 12. Oh, so we are. Okay. It looks like we are. So I'm trying to do quick math in my head here. Yeah, thanks. I think it's 37,500.
All right, now we'll move along to housing. Housing, we'll be talking about the Manhattan Plan Initiative. 2 minutes. Okay, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes.
Hello. Everyone hear me? So we previously discussed and passed part 1 of the Manhattan Plan Recommendations Resolution, which addressed allowing SROs and listed underbuilt sites where a significant amount of housing would be built under existing zoning. Part 2 turns to identifying a selected list of potential locations in the Upper West Side rezoning, where rezoning may be appropriate in order to build more housing. The committee considered a wide variety of potential rezoning ideas, but pared them down in an effort to seek consensus, which we achieved in our last committee meeting, during which these Part 2 rezoning proposals passed unanimously. Among the principles this proposal reflects are no changes to landmark districts whatsoever. This eliminates 71% of the Upper West Side, which is landmarked. We also are proposing no zoning changes in This eliminates another 20%. We're only saying these areas would impose mandatory inclusionary zoning. Sorry, mandatory inclusionary housing requirements.
Yeah, I think there's Wi-Fi issues in the room. I think they're resolving them right now, which is why the main session is muted. But they're troubleshooting that right now.
And you would have the opportunity to conduct a full review of whatever CPC and the city propose. So in the hopes of coming together as a board and making our voice heard on this very important issue, I'd like to just point out, do you have them on the screen? Okay. So I talk through them very quickly. There are 6. Okay. So the first one is the ABC site, as I mentioned. We would be rezoning that from what it currently is, C47, to R11. That would mandate 20 to 30% affordable housing. Street, 86th Street, 79th, and 72nd Street, 2 blocks north and south along there. As I said, there's no mid-block rezonings with 2 exceptions. 2 blocks along, which is the 2.
They're still having audio issues in the room again. Apologies for the issues today.
Find, however, though I honor the committee, I will abstain. There are too many confusions and maybe even inaccuracies in each one of the particular items that you spoke about. Personally, I will abstain on this vote. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Comments? Members of the board?
One thing I wanted to say,
Yes, go for it, Nandita.
I think people in the Zoom, we had some issues with the audio when you were trying to share the screen. And so not everyone on the audio heard most of what you said. So is like I just want to say if it's possible to recap in like 20 seconds tops, if it's possible, like the last bit of what you said after the part about rezoning the streets between 2 blocks north and south, if that's possible.
Oh, yeah. So we've chosen 5 nodes. They are where they're along Broadway, where Broadway crosses with a major crosstown bus. So 72nd, 79th, 86th, 96th, and 110th. And then on 2 of those nodes, 72nd and 96th Street, where they're a major 2-way cross streets, the mid-block. So between West End and Broadway, and then between Broadway and Amsterdam on 96th and 72nd. Those are also upzoned from their existing zoning to R11.
Great. If there are no questions, we call the question. Oh, one question, Seema.
I just want to be clear that we're not actually asking for rezonings now. We are asking for city planning to take a look at our suggestions and do a study and help us think about this impact. Just to be clear.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a good point. It's in the resolution and makes it very clear. All right,
Yeah.
the question's been called. Just to say the whole thing. What? Sounds good. Okay.
Anyone else with tech issues that has not had their vote recorded? 1 second. You have Shelley for yes. All right. A yes. Isaac, yes.
I'm a yes.
Yes. 2 more yeses. Anyone else who has a manual vote that has not been called upon? Oh, a yes, another yes. You're like a terrible auctioneer. Anyone else? Okay, we're going to stop the vote. Okay, so plus 9. So it's 30, wait, what was it plus 9 and 3? So it is 36,181.
Yep.
Yes, the 8 are abstains.
Thank you. So that passes. Let's go to
Carries.
Bloomingdale carries. Let's go to Bloomingdale Library. And we also have a few members of the public who want to speak, so it's up to you when you'd like to call them. I suggest you do a brief update first and then call.
This is about the Bloomingdale Library project. Can you hear? Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, this project was presented at the full board meeting on June 3rd, and the Housing and Land Use and YEL have taken it up.
Ma'am, you are out of order. You are out of order.
Okay. Now everybody hears? Yes, okay. So anyway, the two committees took it up because it affects both of our committees. And Bloomingdale is more than a library. It's also the center of the community and offers many services to the neighborhood. And I think that's reflected by the people who are here. The Bloomingdale Library is located at 150 West 100th Street between Columbus and Amsterdam. It's been a part of the New York Public Library since 1901 and at this location since 1960. The proposal is for a 524-foot high building with 850 units of affordable and market rate dwelling units above a new library. We saw a diagram. The diagram was for a building that had 49 stories. The many neighborhood residents who came to our meetings pointed out that the library was renovated only 3 years ago at a cost of $3 million, and it was closed for that 3-year period of time. The work was done, but there was no temporary library, and there was a great deal of disruption. The partners on this project are the EDC, the Economic Development Corp., the New York Public Library, and the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. The building, which is right next to the library, that is for the Department of Health, is probably going to be moved, or the services will be moved. It wasn't clear. Although there's been some outreach through a survey, there is yet to be any input from Douglas Houses or PS 163, which the library site backs up to. The project is projected to have a timeline of 9 years and will be finished in 2033 to 2034. There will be a competitive RFP process, which is supposed to be distributed as of fall 2025, which is now. It will invite developers to propose their own design and zoning strategy for the site. There will be mandatory inclusionary housing, 20 to 30% of the residential floor area to be set aside for permanent housing depending upon the income bracket. It's a cross-subsidy model. Market rates will support the affordable housing and other library projects. This is based on the strength of the Upper West Side neighborhood. The fact that because we are the Upper West Side, the market rate units will be able to generate so much income, and the city is depending upon that, and therefore the city doesn't have to put that much into any subsidies for affordable housing. We two committees representing CB7 are excited about the possibility of affordable housing, of more affordable housing, although we don't yet know the number or the configuration of the affordable housing because we haven't been told it. We are concerned about getting the greatest number of affordable housing units possible with the deepest affordability possible. We're concerned about the RFP process, which is unusual in its lack of any specifics. The 9-year timeline, which is of great concern to the neighborhood. The lack of sufficient community input, the density and infrastructure concerns, the failure to consider that the Department of Health building could be eliminated, the need for a construction advisory task force led by the community board to deal with construction impacts, the need for temporary location for the Bloomingdale Library that's large enough to accommodate books, programs, and patrons of the library. Therefore, focusing on the draft RFP, we want to extend the current timeline to establish more community outreach, such as what was done for the Grand Concourse Library project. We want the opportunity to review the draft RFP before it's released. We want input into the RFP addressing our concerns. And we also ask that the library project team include a designated Community Board 7 representative in the review of the RFP responses and the selection of the wind developer.
Do you want to take some comments from the public first? I think we'll take the public first. Easier that way.
Okay.
Please come up.
Oh, Joan Strasbaugh. My hands shake, sorry. Can you hear me? I went to the very first library meeting about this building project. Did anybody else go to that meeting? Okay, do you remember how contentious it was? And do you remember how much everybody wanted 100% affordable housing? Okay, so without going into great detail, and that continues, and we are petitioning for 100%. And we were there at the polling sites, and nobody knew about this project. They were like, what? And so the community doesn't know. So I suggest instead of giving up on the EDC, that's an economic development, and this is a housing development. So why not try HPD or some group of nonprofits, or to take this project over and skip this whole part.
Thank you.
That's the short of what I was going to say.
Thank you. Please remember to announce yourself.
Yes, my name is Patricia Loftman. I am president of the Park West Village Tenants Association. I don't want to reiterate what has already been said, but I think a few comments. Number one, most of the community was absolutely unaware of what was occurring, what was going to be projected. And I think by the time we became aware, it appears that the train has already left the station and we're going to get left behind. It seems to me, I think we need to recognize we are in support of affordable housing. As a matter of fact, you know, this was broken 20 years ago when all of the rent stabilized apartments were deregulated. So now we're left to deal with this issue. How do we fix this? It seems to me that we need to really go back to the drawing board. This is city-owned property. It should be 100% affordable. The developer should not have the opportunity to make the final determination as to what happens to that building. So I would like to see us go back to the drawing board, get more community input. As more community members are beginning to learn about this, there is
Thank you.
there is considerable concern about this issue.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. My name is Kathy Uncino, and I support everything that Pat Loftman and Joan have said. I just want to add that, yes, in Inwood, HPD did a project over a library, and they had 129 totally affordable apartments over that library. And that's really what we're seeking here. What I want to add to what was said is that the most of the community is still unaware of the project. 850 units is a bizarre, absolutely egregious amount. 49 stories is egregious amount. First responders already have difficulty. Ambulances and fire engines and so on going through some of the areas because of the traffic congestion that exists without adding 850 units. So if we could have the community board really help us get back to totally affordable, but really have to scale down from 850 and 49 stories.
Thank you.
The community can't support it. Thank you for your help.
Peter Arnson, thank you for having me tonight. I'm here basically to say that this is way too much for this block. We need more time to consider it and look at options. We have excellent nonprofit housing providers in the neighborhood. You can find those with Goddard Riverside or with Westfish. And we should be using them. They can make this happen. They have done it on 108th Street, and it's a beautiful building. In any case, point is, give us more time and give us a chance to try and make this 100% affordable housing. Thank you.
I believe yeah.
I'm Gloria Ann Kirstein. I'm president of the Duke Ellington Boulevard Neighborhood Association on West 106th Street, where I have lived for 42 years. And as everybody else has said, we do support A, more time to consider this project, and B, that we feel that the Economic Development Corporation is a poor partner for the Community Board 7 to put their vote into. They have been the developers of the Hudson Yards, where they promised to have affordable housing built. 10 years later, guess what? The affordable housing never materialized, but certainly the high rent and high end condos all got built. And this is the person we want to partner with for this. Secondly, in terms of the density, do we want Extel to march north into Manhattan Valley? No, we want to close the gates to that and have 100% affordable housing like Community Board 12, where the Eliza project is 100% affordable. Why can't we do the same as Community Board 12 and not hang our heads in shame? Thank you.
Should we take questions from committee now? Members of the board, I mean? Go for it,
Okay.
Shelley.
First of all, this is not the Bloomingdale Library project. This is the housing project from City of Yes. How many apartments can we get? How many units can we get to show that we're doing great things? These aren't great things because it's the most dense area in Manhattan. And with Park West Village and Frederick Douglass houses right there, we don't need more density of housing there. The second thing has been mentioned in the other, at least two projects of this type, there was a need for a new library and everything above it was affordable. And here they're planning something else. Third, and very serious, I've never heard of a situation where they send out kind of an RFP and then the developer will tell us what they want to do, and then some group will look at it and decide what's good. We have to tell them what we want, okay, and the guidelines, and then let them bid on it. There are so many things wrong with this, but I think we should call it the 100th Street Overdevelopment Project.
So I'm going to speak on this one, then we'll go 2-3 over here. If you look at the votes for this one, it was not unanimous. I was the lone dissent in this as a member of YEL. I listened to the impassioned pleas of the members of the community. Month over month, year over year, this community board says that we are dedicated to affordable housing. This is an opportunity to prove it. I asked for at least 75% be included in the letter that was drafted. That was voted down. It was not approved. I think that is ridiculous. I think it is shameful. There is no need to rush. We are not going to fix housing with one building. We can certainly get it wrong. Here's an opportunity, city land, public land. It is being used as a library. It's used for the community in a lot of different ways. Here's an opportunity to really show that we stand with all the statements that we make, get it right, at least 75%, if not more. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to say that the next meeting of Housing and Land Use will be on the Wednesday, the 19th of November, and there will be a presentation by the New York Public Library about this project.
I just have a clarifying
6:30.
question. Hi, to the committee members, I have a clarifying question. What are the implications of the proposition that passed in the election yesterday where community boards have no input on the building? One of those propositions, one of those 6 things that passed. I think only one didn't pass, number 6, but I think that there are some implications for this work that we do here in the community board as we move forward. So that's my clarifying question.
None of the proposals that passed last night change anything about community board review. All the proposals maintain the same 60 days with extra time in the summer. So if there is a rezoning as part of this application, none of the elements of our community board review would change.
Who else would like to talk?
It's very helpful hearing the input from the members of the community here, and it's causing me to rethink some of the conversations we've had. But I think we have to remember we're not having this consideration in a vacuum. There was just an election, and there's a new administration coming in. So I think it's important for us to understand, and I don't, and I'd like some clarity on this. Does the new mayor have the power to kill this project?
Yes.
Yes. So it seems a little, I would say, unproductive to be having a vote on a resolution that is based on a proposal from a prior administration when everything could change in January. So I'm just wondering, shouldn't we factor in the change in administration in terms of this proposal's future?
Yes, well, the thing is that the RFP is being pushed very, very fast. And
Look, my thoughts on this are we don't know exactly what's going to happen with the next administration. We do know that they are interested in housing and especially affordable housing. This I think of as the beginning of a process. This is not they're doing this and let's go forward and this is our last chance at it. This is our first chance and we're trying to shape how the conversation goes. And so what we're asking you to vote on is actually this letter, which is a list of concerns. It's not hey, go forward and go crazy. We compromised in committee with Michael's concerns about, we're worried that if we make the affordability too high, or maybe I should say, I'm worried if we make the affordability too high that we might tank the project and nothing happens. And contrary to what some comments have been before, there are needs of the library that were not addressed in this previous renovation. I don't know why, but they have a laundry list of capital needs that won't otherwise be addressed. So this was a thought to do all of that.
What would be the harm in calling for the suspension of the RFP until the new administration's in office?
I want to echo some of what Seema said. You know, when the project was just being presented and we talked about how it wouldn't start until 2029, there was an audible groan in this room because we are in a housing crisis and we need the housing yesterday. There are 300,000 people who work for New York City and the gears of government keep moving. So to delay this project for until you have new leadership at EDC that trickles down to finally do this is not a delay of 2 months until January 1st. It's a delay of many, many months. And it sets the reputation for our community board that we are difficult to work with and will slow things down. And that's how you end up with the situation we're in right now, where there are not that many projects proposed in our neighborhood, which is why we have struggled to add new affordable housing in our neighborhood. We didn't add any affordable housing so far this year. We didn't add any last year. So I understand that people have concerns about the specifics of this project, but I want to echo what Seema said, which is let's make sure that we keep the ball moving here. Let's keep pushing it forward. We've outlined what our concerns are. There is going to be an RFP process that's going to come back. There's going to be an environmental review we're going to be involved in. There's going to be a rezoning that we're going to be involved in. So there's a lot more to come on this project. And I really think we should send this letter that says, here are our concerns. This is what we want you to take into effect while you're crafting this RFP, while you're selecting this RFP. And then we can move forward from there, because we're in a housing crisis and this is a great opportunity to have housing on the Upper West Side.
But there are other things, Adam, that we can talk about. And one of them is that this is a big site. If you take down, I'm switching sides right now. If you take down the Department of Health facility, you can build there and keep the library as it is now, or you could expand the library. There are other options. The only reason why they are talking about this right now is because of the market rate housing. The market rate housing would be supporting the affordable housing and also library programs. And the city wouldn't be responsible. But why shouldn't the city be responsible? I'm editorial.
I'm speaking as co-chair of the YEL committee, and you know, we are working on this jointly with housing. I'm listening to what people are saying about the fact that this is being done through EDC rather than HPD. We don't address that in our letter, and I'm wondering if we might talk about that. And I'm also, you know, I'm mindful of the fact that we chose to limit our ask on affordable housing because we're concerned that the project should go forward. I'm wondering if that's the right approach.
Yeah, because I'm thinking that there are different options that we could possibly explore.
Hello, everybody. Okay. Hi, everybody. I live in Park West Village, down the block from where this proposed building is presumably going to be built. To describe this as a heavily dense neighborhood is ridiculous. Between 104th Street and 97th Street, between Central Park West and Amsterdam Avenue, there are tower in the park buildings, whether it's at a NYCHA complex or Park West Village. There's plenty of space. This is one of the least intensely built areas in northern Manhattan. So that's not a reason to disapprove this opportunity to build affordable housing. Thank you for listening.
Okay. Quick comment and quick question. My comment is we need more housing. That seems like an appropriate place to put it. I appreciate that we have more input to provide, and the letter seems like a reasonable compromise, and I intend to support it. I have a specific question about the timeline in the library. As the parent of a small child who often goes to that library, I know the project is supposed to be 9 years. Do we have a sense of what portion of that timeline the library would actually be closed for? Because the planning, I assume it would remain open for.
We don't know yet. We've been given very little information.
It's 3 to 5 years is what they've proposed. They did propose to have a temporary location, maybe a retail storefront or some other city-owned space. So while maybe not sorry, actually, Minna, you should speak.
So on the library, the deal is predicated on the notion that there would be temporary space. The question is whether or not the temporary space is going to be big enough for what their needs are and for what their programming is. And one of the proposals is, in addition to the temporary space, if there isn't enough room for programming, that they would partner with a nonprofit in the area and that they would do some of the programming there. So there were certain things that were really important, like story time, and like there was another program for the adults that they really want.
We really got to move quickly. So Ken,
Yeah,
maybe
okay.
last word, and then we'll go.
When I first heard about this, I was surprised that your letter didn't address more of the scale. When I first heard about it, 49 stories seemed to me kind of wildly out of scale with the neighborhood. Before I was on the board about 20 years ago, at 100th and Broadway, there was a building called the REL that was 38 stories. And we were so appalled by that, it's my understanding that we got the zoning change so that we could never have another building like that on that stretch of Broadway. So I just don't want the same thing to happen here.
So just to address that, we didn't address the scale because technically they haven't told us what this building will look like. To Shelley's previous comments, they have invited the developers to tell us what their design and zoning strategy is. So we don't actually have a sense of what will happen. Sorry? No,
So
in the RFP respondents.
I wanted to put forward an amendment and we can vote on it, which was to include in the text of the letter, similar to my amendment, which was not supported in committee, to put a high and hard percentage on housing, the low income or an affordable housing for this unit. The percentage I put was at 75%. Open to comment from board members. I know we are pressed on time. If we wanted to shelve this for a future meeting, that is also, and kick it back to committee, we can vote on that. But my amendment is to put in the letter where it says the greatest possible percentage, a minimum of 75%.
So we have the library coming to our meeting this coming month. So I would suggest that we take this back and have a bigger discussion. We seem to get more community members sort of joining us with each subsequent meeting. So I'd suggest that we take this back to committee.
Right.
Yeah.
Michael, do you
I,
agree?
I can withdraw the motion.
We're talking Wednesday, the 19th.
So do I need to make a motion to withdraw? Do we need to vote on that or we're good? Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll be going to preservation now. Preservation. Please join us. And if you want to share screen, I can share my screen if you want, or Alex, if you want to share it. Okay. Adam. Oh, Match, yeah.
Can we have the picture of the Met Museum, please?
Coming up now.
Metropolitan Museum is proposing standardizing their signage in the front of the museum on the Fifth Avenue side and also in the Great Hall. They're trying to simplify and unify the design. So here you see it. Here you see it. And it's pretty simple. And we voted unanimously to approve it both in committee and non-committee board members.
Call the question?
Is there a question? Yeah, let's call the question.
Let's call a question.
Sorry, could you confirm if voting has started? Okay, it sounds like
Voting
no.
has started.
voting
yes.
has started,
Voting
yes.
has started.
Thank you very much.
Folks who cannot vote, if you can raise your hands and we'll record your vote.
I got it.
Shelley, you
I
are
got it. I
yes?
got it.
Ken, you are
Yep.
yes? Who else?
Okay, it's
Another-
passes.
Did you get the yes back there?
Yep, I got it.
Carries.
It carries not +9.
So 38,000. 38,000. Oh, sorry. 40,010. 40,010. You're good to go, I think. Oh, you got it.
Okay, we are going to talk about West Park Presbyterian Church and their hardship application. The Preservation Committee held 2 meetings about this last month. This is it. It's on 86th and Amsterdam. If we could go to the next slide, please. Alex, can we go to the next slide? Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, so for those here who are not yes, sorry about that. For those who are unfamiliar with what we're discussing today, it's the hardship process. This is a process by which a landmarked building can get permission to be demolished, essentially. In this particular case, there are special rules for a nonprofit going through this process, and there are 4 findings that have to be met in order to receive a hardship from the Landmarks Preservation Commission. They are: 1, that the owner has agreed to sell or lease the property contingent on a notice to proceed. A notice to proceed is permission from LPC to do the work. In this case, the work would be to demolish the structure. The second is that the existing property is incapable of earning a reasonable return under the scenarios. Ignore that second sentence, sorry. Unable to earn a reasonable return. That's a mathematical formula, essentially. The third is that the building is not adequate, suitable, or appropriate for carrying out the current or historic charitable use. And then the last is that the purchaser seeks to immediately demolish the building and to build a new building on the site with reasonable promptness. So these are the 4 findings that the Landmarks Preservation Commission needs to make in order to grant this hardship. If we go to the next slide. Okay, I also want to say that this is a very long process. So we are here all the way at the beginning with the application and the public hearing. It will go to LPC in December, but we are obviously reviewing it here first. If LPC thinks that those 4 things have been met, that is not when the process ends. They do not grant the hardship and the building does not get demolished the next day. What happens is there is a very lengthy process during which LPC can work to try to find an alternative outcome. Someone else who is able to buy the building for the same amount and provide the same exact benefits. Or there can be negotiations between, there's lots of opportunities to try to come up with something that's not just demolition, essentially. If that doesn't work, LPC can even ask the mayor if the mayor will use the city to take a protective interest in the building, whatever that might be. Maybe that's the city buying the building, for example. So it's very critical to say that this does not end tonight. Obviously, it does not end with whatever decision LPC makes. If we can go to the next slide. So what does the resolution that we're voting on tonight say? The upfront is a history of the situation. It describes the application, it describes the building, and then it gets into the 2 things we just discussed. The first section is how the committee felt about the 4 findings. And then the second is about the hardship process. And I'll just go over the hardship process section first because it was very non-controversial. What it said is that even if LPC decides that the applicant has met these 4 things, we as CB7 think it critical that LPC work really hard to try to find an alternative to demolition. Okay, now going to the 4 findings. The committee vote was not unanimous, but there was a majority that found that 3 of the 4 findings were met. We'll go through the simpler, less complicated ones first. The first is that the owner has agreed to sell the building. No one disagreed about that. The last one is that the owner, that the person who's buying the building will demolish the building with pretty quickly after, if they get permission. No one disagreed about that. There was some discussion about the second one, which is the reasonable return. The applicant presented a number of different scenarios and concluded in those scenarios that they could not get a reasonable return. There was also discussion in the committee that LPC has hired experts to independently assess the building. And we looked at those numbers as well. And the independent experts' assessment of how much it would cost to repair the building also was found to still be too much for the building to be granted to make a reasonable return. So that's why the resolution coming out of committee said that that factor was also met. Where there was discussion was about the question of if the building was adequate, suitable, or appropriate. And a majority of the committee found that it was still adequate, suitable, or appropriate. So that was kind of the item that people debated in committee. I want to provide one more piece of context just on this adequate, suitable, or appropriate, which is the general counsel of Landmarks Preservation Commission says, the law provides no additional definitions or explanations for what the term no longer adequate, suitable, or appropriate means. The commission historically has looked at both the physical condition and limitations of the building and the financial impacts of addressing those conditions. So that the resolution as it came out of committee is to deny the hardship because it was determined that by some on the majority on the committee that the building was still adequate, suitable, or appropriate. And I just like to, as the general counsel said, that's not just the building, but also the financial considerations of the building. With that, my suggestion would be that we take some public testimony, looking at the time and what time we have to be out of there. We have an hour. I think we can probably take 15, 20 minutes. And I would ask 90 seconds, or do you want to do 90 seconds? Okay.
Great.
Alex
Let's
has
start
the
with Mark
names.
Diller first. We're going based on the online form. We're based on the Mark Diller will be going first. Mark Diller.
And sorry, just one more thing. If you are not an elected official and you've had an opportunity to previously speak on this application, we are unfortunately not going to be able to take people speaking for a second time.
We'll start with Mark Diller on Zoom.
There is also Mark Diller.
Mark Diller is a person.
There are many different people with different names. Mark Diller is the person we're calling on Zoom. Mark, are you there? Okay, we'll go to the next person, Matt Dillon.
One
90
other thing,
seconds.
we're very pressed for time, so I would ask jazz hands, no applause or cheering, please.
Okay, all right. Listen, I just want to say that I'm an Upper West Side resident. I've been living here for more than half my life, and it's the only residence I have. I love this city and I love the Upper West Side. And, you know, as far as this church goes, it's very important to me. And I want to say that because I've been there in and out of there regularly for the last nearly 10 years. Okay. And I paid rent there, and I can tell you that there is no, you know, the building totally functions. I have not, there isn't any, you know, issues that we're talking about with this hardship issue. And in fact, I'm aware of the fact that there has been money raised, enough money to do any repairs that might be on the facade, to take down the scaffolding that is there currently, but that has been rejected. And I want to say this is very important to me. I've been there. I've seen how it serves the community, which it does. You know, I'm up there regularly. First, I've never seen anything that would you qualify as being not functioning. It serves the community regularly, and there's you know, children are up there doing dance classes with their parents. We've got theater groups doing performances and rehearsals, and it's expanding. I remember when the Center for Park West came up,
We're at time.
that was really good, really good. I think that it's actually been improving since then.
Thank you.
And yeah, I just want to say one other thing.
Yeah, we're at time.
Okay, it would be a shame, and I think to demolish this landmark building, which is an important structure to the Upper West Side. I want to
Thank you,
say that.
thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, I believe Mark Diller is online. 90 seconds. Mark?
I'm hoping you can hear me. Good
We
evening.
can hear you. We can hear
Excellent.
you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Alex, and to the new team, and thank you to Beverly and the outgoing team. You all know me that I'm no longer on CB7, but I've had various roles there. I am, of course, speaking tonight solely in my individual capacity. I thank the committee for the diligence. I was able to attend the 2 meetings. Didn't get a chance to testify because I had to run back and forth, and as you can see, I'm still at work here. I support the resolution as has been proposed by the committee and thank them for their hard work on it. It is manifest to me that finding number 3 cannot be made, that the building obviously is adequate and suitable and appropriate for the various uses that it has been put to, both religious and secular, and the evidence that was adduced at the committee meetings support that. I think a case can be made that the finding number 2 also has not been met, especially considering that when our board voted to designate this landmark about 15 years ago, the issues that were cited with respect to this matter today are exactly the same ones that were cited back then. And so it is understandable that this is in effect self-created hardships, and finally the deterioration didn't happen in a day. Neither should the remedy in the budget for the calculation of
Thank you,
what
Mark.
is reasonable. Thank you. Please vote for the resolution. Thank you.
Let's queue up Luke Kushner, Michelle Dalhart, and Joe DeSalvo, and let's go to Brad online while we're queuing up. Is Brad Hoylman Siegel on there? Are you able to unmute? Okay, we can go with you for 90. Yes, there you go, Brad.
Sorry, I'm here. Thank you.
Great.
Shall I start?
Yes, please start.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm State Senator Brad Hoylman Siegel, represent the Upper West Side, including the long cherished West Park Presbyterian Church in the center at West Park. As you know, the church was designated a New York City landmark in 2010, thanks to the leadership of Councilmember Gail Brewer, who recognized its architectural and cultural significance. Please understand that hardship applications are a narrow exception. They can be granted only when a landmark has genuinely become inadequate for its charitable or religious use and no viable alternatives exist. The record here simply does not support that. I would just urge the board to protect the landmarks law, and because it was enacted precisely to prevent outcomes before us this evening. So please preserve the church and stand with the thousands of New Yorkers who want this remarkable building to remain a center of spiritual and artistic life for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go with Luke first. 90 seconds.
Hey to everybody. Can everyone see these cue cards right here? I just want
Yep.
to make sure. Can everyone on this side see? Yes, I'm taking the silence as a yes. Okay, great. My name is Luke Kushner. I'm with Hiller PC. We represent the center at West Park, and I rise today in opposition of this hardship application. And there are many reasons to deny this application, but the one thing I want to focus on today is that second prong, and that is the math, and that is the formula. If you look right here, the formula under the landmarks law is clear. You have annual revenue minus annual operating expenses minus 2% depreciation of the value of the building divided by the current city assessed value of the property, okay? And what a reasonable rate of return is, it's actually 6% under the landmarks law. So what you see here, there's no hidden factors, there's no repair costs. What you see is what you get. And when we plug in the actual numbers, you'll see there is no hardship. The center at West Park has offered to lease the church for $360,000 a year. That's annual rent, $30,000 a month. And that's on a triple net basis, meaning that the center at West Park is willing to cover the operating expenses, making that zero. Additionally, the center at West Park has offered $9.1 million in repair costs. Amortized over 5 years, that's $1.8 million, and that's that figure right here. So you take these two figures together, that's the annual revenue, minus $0, the operating expenses. That is what the center
you.
is willing to cover. And then you take this number
Thank
right
you very
here.
much. We'll go to
apologize just for a
Mich-
quick second. You get
We'll go to-
56%
Yes, thank
return,
you.
and that is beyond the annual rate
Thank
of
you. Thank you.
6%. This is not a hardship.
We'll
This is a
go
windfall.
to Michelle Dalha next. Remember, we can't have the clapping. We got to move faster. Thank you.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
My name is Michelle Dahlhoff. I work at Wis Jenny Elsner Associates in New York. We're a nationwide firm providing structural engineering, architecture, preservation, material science services. I have been working with the Center at West Park since 2022, providing consulting and an assessment of the existing facade and structural conditions of the building. We have performed multiple close-up inspections, including from a boom lift, close-up access. Myself, I've personally been up on the building along the south facade and parts of the west facade. We have sounded, hands-on, assessed the roofing, the facade, and we have developed repair scope. More recently, last year in July of 2024, we continued our investigation and got into the sanctuary attic spaces to perform detailed assessment, including industrial rope access and digital laser scanning.
You have 30 seconds left.
All of this information was used to inform our repair scope for the building. We compiled this repair scope and provided it to Landmarks last year, for which the center was ready to proceed. Unfortunately, we were not approved to move forward based on ownership. We believe that the conditions observed throughout the facade along the designated locations and the structure can be repaired and restored economically, consistent with other buildings of this typology and age. We observed no immediate safety hazards associated with the structural elements of the building.
Thank you very
and
much.
believe all repairs can be
We'll go with
completed.
Joe DeSalvo next, followed by Gail Brewer, followed by Mosette Broderick. 90 seconds.
Hi, I'm Joe DeSalvo, and I am a resident of the Upper West Side for the last 15 years, and I'm a board member of the Center of West Park, and I stand in opposition to the demolition of this beautiful building. Now, I don't want to go through all the numbers again. Too loud? Sorry about that. But here's what I don't understand. I don't understand what the hardship is as far as this building is concerned. People say we don't have the money. Well, I'm here to give some money away. I have 3 checks, each one $30,000. First month's rent, next month's rent, and security. We want to be able to pay them $360,000 a year as far as rent is concerned. Now, we also want to be able to do all the improvements. We have money to do this. Let me just tell you something. We have $1.2 million in profit that we made last year. And while we're operating the building, we have millions of dollars in the bank. And if it wasn't enough, we have a commitment from the state of New York for another $3 million to renovate and save the building. So we have the money to do this. Now, I just want to be able to say, as a resident of this city for a long time, I'm also a big Giant fan. And we had a general manager by the name of George Young. He had a very, very famous quote when he had to deal with the athletes. You know what he had to say? When it's not about the money, it's about the money. And
Thank you very
that's what
much.
this is. It's all about the money.
Thank
And
you.
what we need is for you
We'll go with
people in
Gail
this
Brewer.
room to stand up and say, this time, it's
Thank
not about
you.
the money. It's about preserving this beautiful landmark.
All right.
that
Thank you
we
very
have.
much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm Gail Brewer, City Council, and I'm here to say in terms of the 3 or 4 hardship. There is easily, as you heard earlier, an opportunity to do a reasonable return. And let me be clear, whether it is rent with those 3 checks or purchase of the building. If a nonprofit purchases the building, then the city, the state, and the federal government can put in tons, millions of dollars. I just put 63 million into the statue at Soldiers and Sailors. So, but you can't do it until a nonprofit owns it. So reasonable return can be met. Second, this notion of carrying out the historic charitable use. Right now, there is a wonderful church there every Sunday. Unbelievable opportunities for charitable use are there now. No brick has fallen on anybody, and the bathrooms work beautifully. And then finally, the issue of what would happen if a new building comes on the site, how long it would take. You just heard from Adam. It will take forever for that new owner, the Presbyterian in this case, to tear it down and then to build something new. So they would never meet the 4th hardship. So we say no to the hardship, yes to this resolution, and thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll go with, we'll queue up Andy Marie, Keith Esposito, and Juan Blanco. And we'll go right now to Mosette Broderick on Zoom. Do we have? Oh wait, we can. Wait. So a husband. Okay, yeah. So you can take the place then.
I just don't know if she's going to do it. She's there. Yeah, so I'm her husband, Herbert Broderick. I'm a professor of art history at Lehman College, across the street from Zoran's alma mater, Bronx High School of Science, if people don't know. West Park is a really important historic monument. The example of St. Paul and St. Andrew down the street is where things could go. That is to say that keeping the building up and providing the services that it does to the community, it's a win-win. And this resolution of turning down this hardship should be supported. Thank you.
Can you hear me? It's Mosette Broderick. Still, I finally figured it out. One thing I want to say, what is the neighborhood like if we lose this building? Why do people want to be in this neighborhood? One of the reasons is we have great buildings around us. If we're all new apartment towers, who's going to want to be here? What makes it special? This is a very special building. It's important architecturally. It's got a great interior that could be a concert hall in perfect condition. This is a building that has plenty of viability.
Hi, my name is Andy Marie Ordonez. I work with the Center at West Park. I stand in opposition of the hardship application today. As you're all likely aware, and as explained in the beginning, in order to obtain hardship relief, the applicant must prove 4 elements. One element is that the applicant has to prove a sale lined up to sell the building once the hardship relief is granted. The second element is that the building cannot generate a reasonable return on investment. This number is a function of the current city assessed value of the property. I'm speaking tonight because there seems to be a misconception that under landmarks law, the first 2 elements may be conflated. Specifically, that the price listed in the prospective contract to sell the building in the first element can also replace the city assessed value to calculate the second element requirement for determining a reasonable return on investment. So if you're looking for the hardship equation, the misconception is that the city assessed price in the denominator can be replaced with the sale price for the contract sale that has not closed yet. That's just not the way it works. You cannot replace a city assessed value in the hardship equation with a sale that has not happened. Indeed, the applicant is also aware of this. Insofar, the applicant hasn't even made this argument.
30 seconds.
The applicant and the opposition both agreed that the city assessed value is $3,804,750, and that is not based upon the city. That is based upon the proposed contract. Why? That is not based upon the proposed contract. Why is this? It's because when the law makes reference to replacing the city assessed value in the recent sale, it assumes the sale has already been completed. That's why that is why the provision is written in the past tense, not the future tense. Since the sale between the applicant and the purchaser hasn't closed yet, the commission will use the city assessed value for purposes of determining the return on investment.
Thank you.
I urge you to follow the law as written.
Thank you.
Hello, community board and all. My name is Keith Esposito. I'd like to speak tonight about West Park Presbyterian Church and evidence that is adequate, suitable, and appropriate for carrying out its current and historical charitable use. The evidence is clear. Since 2018, over 60,000 audience members have attended programs in the building hosted by CWP, including more than 25,000 since 2004. Here is a photo that just occurred last November. The church has hosted more than 800 performances, events, and thousands of hours of rehearsals for artists of all stages of their careers and classes for students of all ages. The congregation of Lighthouse Chapel utilizes almost the entire building for services, programs, and every Sunday. And West Park Presbyterian Church, who are arguing that the building is derelict, unsafe, and unusable, use the chapel every Friday night for an open mic that you could watch live stream from as recently as this past Friday on their Facebook page. They hosted a large international music festival, advertising banners outside the building
30
on
seconds.
October 11th. In total, they have had 10 events since our eviction. On an average day, might feature a film screening in the sanctuary, a subsidized rehearsal in the chapel, and downstairs dance studios, a meeting of our writing workshops at Perpetuity Residence and in the second floor studio, a performance theater 86 in Pushkin Hall, dance classes for children and pickleball artists working on new paintings in top floor and art studios. Buildings like these with multiple art spaces under one roof are rarer than as they should be in New York and only getting rarer.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, the last person in the sheet is Juan. Is Juan in attendance? Okay, I think it's time to. Okay, I think it's time to turn it over, Adam, to.
Did you sign up?
Oh, okay.
Good evening. My name is Marilyn Alterman. I dwell on the Upper West Side, which I love and adore. I attended the board meeting on October 9th and again on October 28th. The long-winded 2-hour presentation by the Presbytery on October 9th should have been an embarrassment to any of the 149 or so churchgoers still attending services at West Park. I found the lengths that they went through to dupe their parishioners and the board by giving false information for almost 2 hours. Disgraceful. Information that the Center for West Park destroyed in the short time that it was allotted to them with actual proof. They are so hard up for money. Why did they evict their only tenants who pay rent religiously? I kept thinking, where did the poverty-stricken Presbytery find the money to pay those companies that gave the presentation in their behalf? White glove law firms and architectural companies chomping at the bit to destroy this gorgeous landmark building. And then their presentation ended with a disgusting display of what they plan to do with the desecrated land after they demolish the building, which was erected on Lenape land. They kept saying affordable housing. If you saw the renditions they presented, the building is definitely going to be a high-rise building for rich people. I look forward to a time when restoration is completed and there is a plaque on the building that says, the landmark church built in 1890 on Lenape land was saved by from demolition by the Upper West Side community.
Thank you.
Please do the right thing and deny this hardship proposal and keep this beautiful historic building intact and a landmark building.
Thank you. Are there questions or comments from community board members who would like to speak on this item? Shelley?
I think I have a unique perspective on this. My synagogue was supposed to be torn down. Okay? And why? Because people said we can't afford to heat it, to have the lights on, to do maintenance, repairs, and anything else that's needed. And we were down to 25 people. But I'm a preservationist, so wanted to do something about it, but there was no source. There was no source. We were a synagogue first. We could have turned it over to another group, but that's not what we are. We were serving the community. Even more so than what we were doing was West Park. West Park was social justice ministry. for the West Side and beyond. They were ahead of the game on every social issue, gay marriage, nuclear stuff, feeding people when people weren't feeding people, and clothing them, and West Side ecumenical ministry for the elderly. I got involved there, and from there came a West Side Federation for Senior and Supportive Housing. They were the inspiration. They are a church, not a building. They are a spiritual mission for the community. So I was very upset in 1910 when it was being landmarked, but I said, okay, I love landmarks. I love landmarks and I love preservation. And I eventually got my synagogue preserved and beautified. But when nothing happened, all those years, all the promises by the Friends of West Park of money, there was no money and nothing forthcoming. And then later on, nothing was forthcoming. The center at West Park is amazing. It's terrific. And I hope it finds a home that will be adequate and serve the community. But this is about West Park Church. I think from the presentations and what I've researched, they meet all four criteria. But the question on the third one, I have this statement: the church has no ability to find the extensive work necessary to make the building safe and usable, and after years of efforts, has not been able to find another user with a viable plan of restoration. In the meantime, the condition of the building, particularly the sandstone facade, continues to deteriorate and has resulted of late in the need for emergency repair work. Approval of this application will remedy the current public safety hazard of the building and will allow the Presbytery to vote funds, and people think it's a problem, for serving the community. What's wrong with that? So although I'd love to see it restored and everything, the money has never come forward. We have celebrities, but we don't have money. We have promises, we don't have money. Excuse me.
Ma'am.
Excuse me. Okay. So the end of the story is that I think that this resolution should be turned down because it does. It should be turned down because it does not adequately prove the hardship. And I think the hardship is necessary. And we shouldn't be coming back in 5 years with another problem here.
Thank you, Shelley. Can we hear from Clary,
Yeah,
please?
there was one question about why Shelley was able to speak. He's a member of the board, so there's no time limit on how long he can speak.
Should I go here? All right, I'll come. I'm Clary Newell. I'm a member of the board, of course, and a member of the committee, and was at the lengthy meeting the other night. I thought at first Shelley was going to speak in favor of the resolution, but when he spoke against it, I decided I wanted to say something. If you vote in favor of the resolution, you are voting against essentially de-landmarking and allowing demolition and replacement with a luxury, no affordable housing tower. So I urge you to vote in favor of the resolution. I want to clarify a couple things, though. The second criterion, which is the financial viability, rate of return, whatever the formula is and however one interprets it, it was written 50 years ago. It wasn't directed at not-for-profits. It wasn't directed for religious institutions. It was directed basically at rental, commercial, or residential buildings. So you really have to sort of maneuver even to talk about it in this context, but we don't have to talk about it. We had a long discussion about it at the committee. We had a straw vote. It was very close. A slight majority of committee members felt that criterion had been met, but it doesn't matter tonight because all we need is one. If we have one negative out of the four, then we make a finding that the criteria for demolition, for de-landmarking and demolition have not been met, and that's what goes to LPC. So we don't really need to get involved in the money at all. We had a majority of the committee that concluded that number 3 has not been met. You saw a big X from Adam on that one. I want to make 2 other quick points, if I can remember what both of them are. Oh, one of them is, if you think you're in doubt, vote your conscience, of course, but if you abstain, especially those new members of the board who may not realize that that is effectively a no. So don't abstain unless you really want to abstain. I've urged you to vote yes. The other quick thing I wanted to say is, with our no recommendation to the LPC, that is our recommendation that the findings have not been met, because you need all 4. And if any one of them is not met, you don't have all 4. That we hope will have some weight with LPC. We don't know what they'll do. They still may, they may decide that the findings have been met. But the last point I want to make is, I think the scenarios that Adam outlined that are theoretically possible, should LPC vote that the findings have been met, are really pie in the sky. I think they're not realistic. So if you vote yes, and if the LPC votes for our resolution, that is to say, denying the application, if LPC denies it, you don't get to the pie in the sky. If LPC ends up granting the application, I think that all those things that might happen afterwards are not going to happen. The building is gone.
We're going to hear from one of our committee members on Zoom.
Hey guys, is that me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I just wanted to respond to the point about if it stays as a landmark building, we can put tons of money towards, the city and the government can put tons of money towards renovating it. A couple of months ago, when we were putting together our district needs statement, I think the top district need that we had was food insecurity, and it wasn't preserving buildings, to be harsh. So I don't understand why there's so much conversation about spending all this time and energy in a time when we don't have SNAP benefits funded federally to preserve a building that is a huge it's definitely an important aspect of the Upper West Side, but this moment is not the moment where the number one priority is preserving this building. This moment is the moment where the number one priority is something else. And so I understand that right now we're not voting on the funding. Right now we're voting on the 4 points that are being brought up, and whether or not this actually meets the criteria for hardship. But I do want to point that out when people are thinking about their vote, is that, yes, while we're talking about the 4 points that are the criteria for hardship, we should be spending more time talking about food insecurity than we do talking about spending tens of millions of dollars towards renovating a building. So again, I'm not saying anything either way. I'm just saying, when it comes to thinking about how to vote on this issue, that's something that I think members of the community board should keep in mind. Thank you all.
I'm just going to speak here, and then we're going to go on 2. I just like to, respectfully disagree on this last point. I think we can consider multiple issues at the same time in parallel. We have that on the SNAP question. The question before us right now is one that affects preservation of the building community, favor maintaining that. I don't think that it makes sense. I understand that there are needs that the city has for housing. I understand Shelley's point about, the civic center, or the spiritual center, excuse me, tear down just to housing. I think this was land. We shouldn't just flop on it. I think that's a dangerous precedent. And to that, go to the big 3. He's clapping.
Clarifying question for committee members. I wanted to understand why we're even voting. They didn't meet the criteria. Like, they, you know what I mean?
Decision to say nothing, but we thought it important to let LPC know how the community felt about them. So that's the resolution.
I think this is a difficult issue. I will be voting no. I think the cost of the renovation definitely feels like it is disproportionate to the proposed use. But I think people can vote either way. I just want to speak to, I think, the theater that has occurred. I think the giant checks, the celebrities that have been paraded, the very hurtful accusations of lying and deceit to the congregation, I think has really devalued this process. And it makes me quite sad to see how we've discussed this. And as people look to our community outside and to see that this is the #1 issue, I think it's embarrassing.
So I'm going to say that this should not be torn down. This is a beautiful building. Whether it stays as a church or it stays as a community center, it is very important to the community. It's part of quality of life. It should have, hopefully, a center like the Center at West Park or a nonprofit of that sort. But it is a very beautiful building. We need light, we need air, we need this part of our community. It's our history, it's our fabric today. It's why we have playgrounds, it's why we have parks, it's why we have space. Not every building is beautiful, not every building is special. This is a very special building. It's important for our future, for my new grandson, for my older granddaughters, and it's important for our seniors. It's a very beautiful space, and I think it's very important that we vote to have it remain as a landmark.
Just a reminder, we have about 20 minutes. So if you could just try to keep our comments tight, we're about 20 minutes.
I just wanted to comment on two technical issues. The first one is the reference by the representatives of the center that the calculation of a reasonable return has to be based on the assessed valuation of the property. If you read the law, and I read the law and I read it as a lawyer, the next sentence after that modifies it by saying that the Landmarks Commission can assign a different value if there is a bona fide sale of the building pending, which there is in this case for approximately 10 times the assessed value. The second statement that was made refers to whether or not, in order to invoke the exception to that assessed value, there has to be a completed sale. There is a sale, there is a signed contract, and the buyer is obligated. The sale is contingent on this hardship application being granted. If there had to be an absolute completed sale under these circumstances, you could never have a hardship application granted because there would never be a completed sale with a contingency on the application being granted. So with respect, it's a misreading of the law, and I want you to understand what the actual effects of the statute are when you vote, however that may be.
I just have a quick question for Adam.
Yes.
As I understand it, the owners of the church made a very long presentation at the committee. I find it odd that they're not here tonight.
They are here. There are members of the.
But I mean, they're not speaking.
The standard practice of how we do it is that they present at the committee meeting.
Okay.
We also have asked that folks who have already spoken on an item not speak a second time. So
Okay.
they've already spoken.
So since we're not at the committee, I find it a little challenging to make an informed decision when I could hear from the center representatives, but not from the other side.
I acknowledge that. I sent a very long email detailing a lot of different things you could have done to prepare. I've tried to explain it. But you know, that unfortunately, the way we set it up was that we don't want to hear from them. If people want to make a motion to hear from them, we can ask them if he would like to speak, but I'm not sure that's okay. Excellent. Then John. Okay, we're moving on. Thank you.
I would like to speak as a community board member and also as the perspective of someone who's a weekly synagogue attender. And as I'm speaking as a community board member and someone who is a weekly synagogue attender, I'm a member of 2 synagogues on the Upper West Side. My wife is president of one of them. I reviewed the materials and think that the criteria have all been met. And I have a great deal of sympathy for the actual congregations that are part of the actual religious congregations on the Upper West Side. I'm sorry we didn't get to hear the church speak. I did review their materials though and think that they absolutely made their case. We have a mix of new and old buildings in this neighborhood. Both are good. We are in a beautiful, well-preserved old religious congregation right now. Not everything can be preserved, and I think that the church has made their case and intend to vote against this.
Hi, I just want to say that the committee did look at this possibility, this hardship application, spent a lot of time doing it, a lot of time reviewing materials, spent a lot of time reading all the letters from the community, from the church. We devoted an enormous amount of time at that first hearing to hear from the applicant and consider the points that were made. And also to listen to members of the community, pro and con. This is not something we took lightly. We know that there are different sides to this, but on balance, the majority of the committee voted to not support the hardship application. And we hope, our committee would hope that the community board would take that very seriously into consideration and vote to support our resolution.
Just a quick question. There are a couple of people made reference to is this a good use of resources at this time? I just don't understand. If we vote to deny the hardship application, are there some funds that are going to come? So then I'm not sure what that point is.
If the hardship application is denied, we would be in the same situation right now where there are mechanisms by which funds could be transferred, but there is nothing contingent on denying this hardship, meaning that funds are available.
So in other words, if the hardship application is denied, there's no I saw a giant check going around.
There's no automatic money.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Thank you. You're very
Just a very quick comment. Everyone has been speaking about how beautiful the building is, and indeed it is beautiful, but scaffolding has been up since the year 2000. Nothing has changed. Nothing will change if this hardship application is not granted.
Yeah, so I want to clarify kind of a few things. I agree with a lot of what has been said. During our 2-3-hour sessions, we heard a lot from both sides. And if you watch the YouTube, we can hear from members of the congregation, members of religious members, all speaking about what they have done to try to preserve the church, what they are unable to do. So I think that's very important not to anchor too much on who spoke tonight, unfortunately. I think to Howard's point exactly, if we reject the hardship application, I fully expect that 5 years from now, the church looks exactly as it does currently and is in the same position it is currently. On the last one, which is the number three, Maisie, could you? On number 3, which is the very important part that we as the committee voted out, does it have a current? Is it able to be currently used as is? So this is the current DOB page. We have 75 open violations. 2 are serious enough that they have oath violations. This one is classified as class 1 hazardous. Immediately hazardous violation must be corrected immediately. And this is still open, and it relates to the failure of the maintained building walls and apertures at the time of inspection. So again, I would suggest that we vote to reject, to vote no, because I believe that all 4 of the items have been met.
We'll go to Doug, and then we'll go to Zoom, and then I think we're gonna have.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you don't preserve this building, you are trying to make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I have also said that there must be some middle ground between a hardship and a windfall. They're in contract for $33 million. There will not be a single affordable apartment in this building. This is a luxury condominium. There's no commitment to the neighborhood. They want to sell the building and move on to the next project. There's nothing wrong with that per se, but it's false pretenses. Also, assessed value has nothing to do with market value. Nothing. I sold a building on Broadway for $27 million. The assessed value was not even $1 million. It's fictitious. Okay. So here's the bottom line. This has to be saved. You've heard from the community. It's ridiculous. The church should sell the building. No problem. Sell the building. Sell it to a not-for-profit. I've said it before. I'm on the advisory for the Metro, which is going to be the new Uptown. That's exactly what happened. You see that the elected officials were able, Governor Hochul gave money to renovate that building. That is what can happen here. With all due respect to the church, sell the building to a not-for-profit. And then, as Gail said, it can be restored. That's the way you do it. Thank you.
Folks, we're low on time, so I'm going to ask that we don't clap. We're going to go to Hayden on Zoom, please.
Hey,
Folks, we're going to run out of time if we're clapping. Can we please go to Hayden on Zoom? Thank you.
Hi there. I listened to both of the most recent meetings, all 3 hours of each, and the presentations that were made, just to recount the facts for those who did not know, that this has been ongoing for more than, I think it's 15 years, and the building was landmarked against the church's wishes. Those are important facts that were not brought up today. Money was promised years and years ago. Gail Brewer acknowledged that and apologized for the money not coming through. Those were facts that came out. The one question that I have as I sit here right now on prong 3, that the building is no longer adequate, suitable, or appropriate for carrying out the current or historic charitable uses, it's not clear to me, and maybe the chairs of the committee, Adam, maybe you can help me understand to what extent the obviously necessary repairs, there's the estimates are between $30 and $50 million due to the repairs. As the resolution mentions, there's been much lower possibilities put forth of a $9 million repair that honestly is an outlier based on everything else that the LPC put out there. It is going to be a lot more than $9 million. My question is, to what extent, when we're looking at that third prong, does the need for those repairs affect the adequate, suitable, or appropriate determination?
Just to answer that question, during the presentation that the general counsel of LPC, he said that there's nothing statutory that says that, but that the historic practice of the commission has been to also include the financial impact of addressing those issues. We're going to go to Ira as our final comment, and then hopefully someone will call the question on the resolution.
Okay, I just want to point to the fact that somebody brought up building department records on the screen. Okay, I may be the only practicing architect in the room, I may not be, but I can tell you that building department records don't show the full picture. I can promise you that many of you work in office buildings with 500, 600, 700 violations, and you go in every single day of the week and you feel safe and secure. That's the truth of how it works. Similarly, you have a consultant back there, Wis Janey. Wis Janey is one of the 2 forensic engineers that I would want to have in the room. The other one, I'm not going to give him free advertising, but I'd love to. But Wis Janey is one of them. So you have to take them very seriously. I have the second one on hand because in case somebody else has Wis Janey already. So that's the quality of information we're getting there.
Call to question. Okay.
Just one more thing I want to say is once you tear it down, you can't get it back.
The question's been.
Yeah, I will.
Yes.
Can someone second calling it? Okay. So the resolution that we are voting on says that the applicant has met 3 of the 4 requirements, but because they have not met all 4, the Landmarks Preservation Commission should deny the application. That makes sense? Okay. If you vote yes, you will be voting to deny the application.
Okay. No. Voting has now started. Obviously, we have tech issues. This is an important issue, clearly. Everyone take their time. If you cannot vote, take your time to let us know manually. Committee members. Okay, for folks who have not been able to record their vote on the phone, have you shared with Alex yet? Shelley, you're voting no? Did you get Ken? Do we have only committee members, please? Only board members, excuse me, only board members, only board members. Do you have these two? Yeah. And Louisa? Oh, yes, I'm so sorry.
Louisa, that's a yes. I mean, maybe it's helpful.
Anyone who has not had their vote recorded and is worried that they have not had their vote recorded, this is the time to speak.
Yeah, this one looks close too. So maybe I'll just read out. For yeses manual, I have Andrew, Ken, Ethel, Kay, Louisa. Okay, yep. And then I have Tabitha, Miriam, Sophia, Shelley, Igor for no. Okay, so that's. So it's 25 to 1, 2, 17.
25, 15, 2.
Yeah.
Okay, we are going to stop the vote. The final vote is, it was 25. You had 6 yeses, right? It is 25, 15 to 0.
This application is going to be coming before the Landmarks Preservation Commission in December. It will show up on their agenda.
So that's
The
we're not taking
resolution
public
passed
comments.
25 to
20.
Okay. As I was saying, this application will go before LPC in December.
If everyone can please be quiet, we are still in a
We're
meeting.
still in-
Please be respectful of the meeting. Please be
Folks,
respectful.
if folks, we're still having a meeting. If folks could please remain seated until we adjourn.
Please be respectful.
All right,
of
do
the
we have
meeting.
any new business? Hopefully not. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Okay, second? Okay, thank you.